Welcome to part 10 of the Angular from Scratch video series. And in the last video, we left off saying that we're going to be talking about building a model in Angular, but actually I realized that I haven't fully covered what happened in the last video, so we'll leave the model part for some other video. And in this one, we'll just have a look at our app that's now compiling and serving, but we have some issues with it. Namely, the border is set to 20, right? So that's because we're setting the thickness here to 20, and we're logging out the subscriptions result to the console. So we're setting thickness here, but actually this is not the proper way to do it. So let's refresh our app just to make sure that you see what's happening. So border is set to 20 right here because we've got thickness of any set to 20 here. Now, to make it update based on the subscribed data or based on the data coming from the service that we've subscribed to, we need to change it to this. And also there's one more thing here. When I go to the console and click get random values, I indeed do get the 42 right here, but obviously the border is gone because it's not setting it properly right here. And also there is no border anymore, and we can confirm that when we look into the DOM right here. Instead we get this weird looking object. So to make this thing work, we need to make a few adjustments. And let's start by not assigning this to the disk thickness directly, but instead we'll do res, and then inside of here we'll do this dot thickness equals result. So result will be 42, and then this dot thickness will be the result. And we'll also let's set this initial value to some really large number so that we can easily see the difference between the initial thick border and then the updated one right here. So if I go File, Save All, this should now update properly. And when I click Get Random Values, it's going to be 42 in the console. So if I click it again, well, now we are no longer logging out. So if I do console log res, we should get a 42. Save all. So click right here, we get a 42, and we'll also get a 42 right here. And that works perfectly fine. But I actually want to take it a step further, and I want to make it return a random number from the API call. So that's actually pretty easy. I'm going to have to go back to the sumdata.service.ts, and right here in the sum method from service, I'll need to add some randomness. So I'll type const params equals math.round math.random times 100, and this will give me a random number. And now I can return this http.get and change the expression here from 42 to a number that I'm going to set to the value of whatever gets returned in the params. But in order for this to work, I also need to have backticks right here. So now that I save all, and let's see what happens. When I click Get Random Values, it keeps updating nicely. One more thing that I want to do here is I want to maybe multiply it by, let's say, 50, and I want to add a 50 to it. Or actually, let's make it a 20 and add still 50 to it. So this will make it in the range of between 20 and 70. So that should look a lot nicer. And also now that we know what's happening, I guess we no longer have to have the thickness of 100. So let's make it, I guess, back to 20. Because now it's more obvious as to what is happening here. And now the font size is 20 and the border thickness is 20. And we are also logging out the value on each click right here, the value returned from the Some Data service. So let's give it a try. Save all. It's already saved, so that's good. So now I'm just gonna refresh my app once again, and now when I click this, I'm getting the value that got returned, and the value will always be between 20 and 70, I would say, or actually between 50 and 70. So yeah, so that's good. It works in a randomized manner, and that's how you do it in Angular. That's how you get a random number from a third-party API. In the upcoming videos in this series, we'll go back to some basics rather than going through some more advanced concepts, because it would be better to practice doing some easier stuff. And we'll focus on a couple of easy tasks. We'll be discussing observables and how they work, working with pipes in Angular, and we'll start using a library that allows us to use Bootstrap in our Angular apps.